It's National June Dairy Month, which means I need someone pretty special to help me cook. And with me this month, I have Princess K of the Milky Way, Haley Henricks. Haley, how did you become Princess K of the Milky Way?
Well, I have the pleasure of living on my family's farm for my entire life. I went through a whole bunch of judging, and eventually I was chosen as Princess K.
So that sounds like I've got an expert on dairy, so let's start cooking. So our very first recipe is cranberry orange butter, and you know a lot about butter, I bet.
Well, fun fact for you, I have had my head carved out of 90 pounds of butter.
Oh, so Princess K and her court, they're the ones in that rotating refrigerator.
Absolutely, you can find it up at the Minnesota State Fair.
Oh, gotcha. And don't you even, let's see, what building is it at the State Fair?
It is in the dairy building.
Gotcha.
Which is at the corner of Judson and Underwood.
Oh, interesting. So let's get us started with this, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with 1 stick of unsalted butter, but this is what seems crazy, we're actually gonna salt it. And so I bet you know which one is the salt. We're gonna add 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And so this is 1/2 cup of butter. How much was your butterhead, did you say?
90 pounds.
90 pounds, that's a lot of butter. We're not making near that much, but this butter will be great on toast or bagels in the morning, so it's a good breakfast start for us. So we're gonna add 6 tablespoons of cranberry sauce. Let's see if you know your ingredients. See, this is a test with your first recipe with me. And then we're going to add 4 teaspoons of orange marmalade. See, it's nice, it's color coded. We're weaning you in early and easy. And then 2 teaspoons of confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar, depending on what your household calls it. And then, instead of having a scepter, you get a hand blender. So you can mix that all together. So have you ever used one of these before? So there's a button and you can just pulse it with your finger.
Oh, okay. So do I just push it in
Yep,
and
you
go
can just put,
like that?
yeah, you got this. See, you're cooking up a storm, and I'll assist you.
Ooh,
and you can just mix and smush. See? She's a cooking master already.
I've never done this before, if you could not tell. Sounds angry.
So now all we need to do is transfer this over into an airtight container, and it will stay lovely and wonderful in the refrigerator. And then this is a great recipe you can make the night before, and you can pull out for the next couple mornings for breakfast. As long as it's airtight, it's good to go. Now I think since you mastered the very first recipe, we should go for our round 2 breakfast recipe.
Sounds good to me.
So we have one delicious breakfast spread, but now it's time for our fruit salsa yogurt parfait, which is really fantastic, especially this time of the year with it being June, because fruit tastes amazing as well. So we're gonna start with those strawberries. And what we're gonna do is you get the fun adventure of slicing all of these up, and then after you have them all sliced, you can just put all of those pieces back into this bowl, because we're gonna be slicing a lot of different kinds of fruit to put in there. So while Haley is working on cutting up all of those strawberries, I'm gonna work on cutting up these kiwis. And now, Haley, I found this recipe on the Midwest Dairy website. Actually, I found all of our recipes there. So what kind of stuff does the Midwest Dairy website offer to people?
You know, honestly, they seem to offer anything and everything about dairy. If you want more awesome recipes like we're making here today, go to Midwest Dairy. If you want to learn more about dairy farming, go to Midwest Dairy. If you want to know more about the nutritional impact the dairy can have on your diet, go to Midwest Dairy. They have so many different things to offer.
Gotcha. Is that where somebody would head? If I know we had talked a little bit about how it's June Dairy Month. Is there information about June Dairy Month on there for people too?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's actually an entire list of events during June Dairy Month that you can go check out.
Gotcha. So today we've been talking about how we're cooking with dairy, but June Dairy Month is a lot more than just eating dairy foods.
June Dairy Month, it's a great month to celebrate all of our dairy farmers because they spend 365 days of the year working very, very hard to make sure that you and I have milk and other dairy foods to eat and drink.
Gotcha.
So we really just want to celebrate the fact that dairy is so good for us, and we really want to thank our farmers for all the hard work that they put into.
Gotcha. And I know you had mentioned that on the Midwest Dairy website there's all those different recipes on there, and I noticed that they have really good nutritional information on there. So if that is maybe a belief that someone has that maybe dairy is not the healthiest option for them, would that maybe clear up some beliefs that maybe aren't as true as they thought they were?
Oh, for sure, for
Gotcha.
sure. And I think that's even part of the reason why we have a program like Princess K, is because there's a lot of things out there, you know, we think that dairy isn't good for us, but you know, milk and other dairy foods, they have 9 essential nutrients.
Wow.
So it's actually really great for you.
Gotcha. So there's a lot of things that you would get from, like, say, cow's milk that maybe you wouldn't find in a soy or an almond milk?
Actually, you might, this sounds almost backwards, but you would get less from cow's milk. See, milk, cow's milk, dairy milk, has 3 ingredients to it. It's milk, vitamin A, and vitamin D.
Okay.
Where if you had a milk alternative, you're going to have a very long list of ingredients with a lot of extra added things in there.
Gotcha.
So milk, it's clean and it's simple.
Gotcha. So when we think about it then, if it is such a great food, if somebody's like lactose intolerant, does that mean like dairy's out for them and they miss out on those nutrients then?
Absolutely not. So us dairy farmers, we wanted to make sure that you could still enjoy all of the nutritional benefits of milk without the lactose. So something like Fairlife milk, that is lactose-free milk. There's also yogurt that you can consume because the enzymes in yogurt will break down the lactose for you that your body can't break down. And there's also a lot of cheeses like cheddar and mozzarella that you can consume too, because they are also low in lactose.
That makes sense then, because when I was looking around on the Midwest Dairy website, every once in a while they would have little mentions on the different recipes about alternatives for low lactose or lactose free. So that must be what they're talking about then on their website. Gotcha. So really, Midwest Dairy is just a wealth of information to help people out to understand all of these things.
Absolutely.
And I assume then it's your job to kind of go around and be that ambassador to kind of help get people in touch with that resource.
I'm here to help out the more than 3,000 Minnesota dairy farmers, and I spend a lot of times just reaching out to people just like you and me to make sure that they know more about dairy and the awesome things that our farmers are doing and the awesome nutritional benefits that dairy has.
So it looks like we're getting pretty gosh darn close with all of these strawberries. And right now it seems like it's more of a fruit recipe, but I promise there is some dairy in here. So when we finish up with our kiwis and strawberries, we still actually have 2 more types of fruit that we're going to put in there. So what we've got going on right now is, with all the things we've cut up, we cut up 2 kiwis, we cut up a cup of strawberries. What Haley has in front of her right now is 1 15-ounce can of peaches, and what I've done is I've drained all of the juice off of there. And then what I have in my oh so happy strainer is 8 ounces of pineapple, but what I've done is I've saved the juice. With that pineapple juice, I'm actually going to add that to my fruit. That's going to help to marry all of the flavors together in our salsa. So now, since I do have my pineapple in chunks, I'm going to take a moment and just kind of break these down a little bit more. So we have all of this delicious and wonderful fruit, so now it's time to salsify it. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. We're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. So if you would be so kind, you can start with the stirring and salsification, and it'll start to smell really delicious and wonderful. See, it's like low-key baking. It has the smell.
Like it.
It has the smells of baking without any of the fear of baking. So I hate to break your heart, but we'll be baking a little bit later. That's all right.
Just kidding. No,
I'll walk you through it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Besides, we've got our fail-proof Midwest Dairy recipe to get us through it.
That's true. That's true.
So now we have our fruit salsa all put together, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn it into a parfait, and we're going to do that by layering vanilla yogurt with our fruit salsa. So in this bowl I have 32 ounces of vanilla yogurt, but we need to wipe this away so we can set up our parfait building station. So we've got our station set up, and it's easiest to make this with a buddy because you can streamline the process. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by putting in a half cup of yogurt in the bottom of my glass. If you have a fancy parfait glass, you could for sure do that. But what I'm doing is just our regular drinking glasses. And then on top of it, Haley is going to put 3 tablespoons of our fruit parfait. And then we're just gonna keep rotating through, building our layers until we are all out of our ingredients.
And if vanilla yogurt isn't your thing, you can definitely use a flavored yogurt. And we even recommend you try using Greek yogurt, regular yogurt, switch it up, have fun with it.
So now we have our first round through. We're gonna go through one more time, and we're gonna save the finished product as a surprise for our viewers for the very end. So we have breakfast on lock with our 2 options from Midwest Dairy. Let's talk lunch and dinner, and we're gonna tackle that with a beef burrito with pepper jack cheese and black beans. Ooh. Sounds delicious. So the first thing we're gonna do is we have 2 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna let Haley start smashing and crushing that, and then I'm gonna let her cut that up into tiny little pieces. While she's doing that, I'm gonna take a half pound of ground beef and I'm gonna start browning that to get that ready for when she's ready with her garlic. So you've got it all cut up. You can dump it in whenever you're ready, and we'll just get this going with our other flavors. So we have our meat browned, and in this I have 1 cup of salsa, but we're only gonna use half of it right now.
Okay.
We're gonna save a little bit for later. So I've got chunky salsa in here, and this is actually what I'm gonna use to flavor that meat, to get that taco flavor. So we're just gonna cook this a little bit longer until we get our taco flavor. So we have all of our meat and all of our flavors combined together. So we're gonna take a quick timeout and we're gonna build our burrito station, and then you'll get to see what they look like. The nice thing about these burritos is this is like the perfect party setup where you could make this into an assembly line and people could just build as they go down the way, but we're gonna tag team it today. So we're gonna start with a 9-inch wheat tortilla, and then we're gonna put 1/3 of a cup of rice on there, and we're gonna leave a little bit of a border on there, about 1/2 inch. That way, when we have it spread out, it's covering everything up nicely, but we still have the ability to fold it and burrito-ize it. Then we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of black beans to the tip top, and then I am going to put 1.5 tablespoons, and I just have a little 1/2 tablespoon measurer, so it's a little deceiving, but I'm gonna do 1.5 tablespoons. Then the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to use 1/3 of a cup of our beef mixture. And now you can cheesify it.
Ooh.
And what kind of cheese do we have in there?
Today we have pepper jack cheese.
Ooh, is that your favorite kind of cheese?
It's definitely at the top of my list.
So then on top of that pepper jack cheese, we are going to put 2 teaspoons of salsa to give it a little kick. And then we're going to put a sprinkling of some onion on there too. We're going to take the 2 sides just like this. We're going to fold it over, and the nice thing is this is going to be an extra full burrito, and we're just going to pull it back and tuck it in the best that we can. And if it squidges out a little bit, we'll just tuck in the edges just like so. We are ready to microwave that for a minute. Now it seems crazy to think about microwaving it, but it's nice. It's a quick, easy way to make a lunch, that's for sure. And if you wanted to, you could make it in the oven. So I think we're gonna make a couple more and we'll heat them on up. So our kitchen already smells really delicious. I bet you'd agree.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So it's time to think about dessert, and we're gonna make a yummy eclair dessert. Have you ever had that from the Midwest Dairy website?
I have not, so I'm really excited to try this.
Then you're in for a treat. And this one, it's gonna start with 1 stick of unsalted butter, and we're going to add to that 1 cup of milk, and we're gonna combine this together over a low heat until the butter's melted into the milk. Now, Haley, I noticed when I was checking out the Midwest Dairy website that there was some stuff on there that said dairy-free for me. What's that all about?
Oh, dairy-free for me. It's one of the greatest parts of Midwest Dairy, and it's even one of the greatest parts of our diet every day. Because you and I, and all the viewers out there, we need to have at least 3 servings of dairy every single day. So that
Gotcha.
means, at breakfast, at lunch, and at dinner, we can have a serving of either milk, cheese, or yogurt.
Okay, so does it matter like if I throw in ice cream into that 3 a day?
I mean, we really want to make sure that we're getting those nutrient packaged foods like the milk, cheese, and yogurt, but I still recommend having some ice cream in there.
I think that's perfect, and there's lots of dairy in this dessert. So now that our butter and our milk is combined, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 cup of flour to this, and then this is when we get to activate our farm muscles because we're going to combine this, and I'm actually going to turn off my heat now, and I'm going to work to combine and get rid of all those lumps. If you would be kind enough to crack 1 egg and just lay it right on the top of my dough mixture. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 egg at a time into this. So I've got my first one pretty well combined and incorporated. I'll let you add the second egg. And we can add our final egg. All right, so we have our crust nice and combined. It's going to be sticky and stringy at this point, and that's the texture that we want because remember, this is an eclair dessert, so it's almost like a pastry dough. So we have already ready for ourselves a greased 9x13 pan, and this is when you get to practice your crust skills. What I'm gonna do is I will dump this into the pan for you. And then you'll just take your rubber scraper and you'll just spread it out the best you can. You want it to be a nice even layer because if it's not, then you run the risk of getting air bubbles. No matter how perfectly even that is, you're gonna get some air bubbles. So don't stress yourself out if you pull it out of the oven and there's some pieces that kind of puffed up while it was baking. As it cools on the counter, it's gonna balance itself out and it's gonna slowly sink back in. So once our lovely Princess K of the Milky Way has this all spread out evenly, we're going to pop it into a 375-degree oven and it's going to bake for 30 to 35 minutes. Because it's June, you have a little bit of humidity in there, so you might need a few extra minutes to get some of the extra moisture out. But once it's nice and golden brown, you'll be able to take it out of the oven and let it totally cool. So I think we're ready to pop it in the oven. So Haley, your crust spreading ability looks absolutely amazing because it looks beautifully baked. So well done.
Thank you, thank you.
So now we're gonna make our eclair layer and we're gonna start by adding 1 package of Neufatel cheese. And so it looks a lot like cream cheese, but Haley, what's the difference between cream cheese and Neufatel cheese like we're using today?
Neufatel cheese is just like cream cheese, except it has less fat in it. So if you're trying to cut fat in your diet, this would be a great alternative.
Nice. So the first thing we're going to do with that Neufatel cheese is we're going to cream it, and I'm doing it with a stand mixer, but if you had a hand mixer at home, it'd be an easy way to take care of that. And then to it, because this is a very dairy exciting recipe, we're going to add 3 cups of milk in there. So we have our milk and our Neufatel combined. I just like saying Neufatel.
Isn't it such a fun word?
And to it, we're going to add 2 packages of instant vanilla pudding. So if you're a person that normally makes your pudding from scratch, you can take a break from doing that this time. And so now we're just going to stir this together until it's combined, and then you get to use your spreading magic again, Haley.
I get a lot of students who ask me too, is pudding a dairy food? Well, it has dairy in it,
But it's not necessarily
not a dairy food. See, this is why they need Princess K.
So I'm just going to scrape down the sides of my bowl, and it looks like we've got a lovely pudding. So now I'm going to let you spread that over the top because you're a master spreader, we found out on there. So if you want, you could change up the flavor on this by getting a different flavor of pudding. But if you want that true eclair flavor, you're gonna go with the vanilla pudding. And another thing too, like we mentioned already, is Midwest Dairy has those nutrition facts on their website. If you keep it with vanilla, you'll know exactly what you're getting with what you eat.
I'm so happy I've grown up milking cows and I can lift a heavy bowl like that.
So just like when we made the crust before, we're gonna spread it out so that it has a nice even layer on there. And then after that, we're gonna top it with yet another layer and then another little sprinkling of flavor on the top too. So even though our pan's already getting pretty full, we still have half our recipe to go. Beautiful job.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, let's get ready with our next topping. So the last thing we're gonna do is we're going to top it with whipped cream. And we're gonna make homemade whipped cream. The best kind,
Even
of course.
better.
Now on Aprons Optional, we flavored a lot of different whipped creams, but there's a lot of flavors going on in here. So we're gonna keep this really pure. So I have 1 cup of whipping cream in here, and we're just gonna start by mixing air in it, and then you get to bust out your decorating skills. So we know we're all ready when we've got a nice soft peak on our whipped cream.
Are you gonna lick that? Just
So you may then top our next layer with our whipped cream that we've just freshly whipped. So it's really soft right now, and that'll let us spread it nice and evenly over the top of our dessert. And then once we get that spread smoothly, then the only thing left to do is to get that little punch of chocolate, because on a regular eclair, what happens is you've dipped that pastry into chocolate. So in here, in this handy little pitcher, we have a 1/2 cup of chocolate. So we'll just work on decorating the top of our dessert. Once we have it all built together, we're gonna put it into the refrigerator, and we want it all to set up nicely. I usually like to let it sit for a few hours, but if you wanted to, you could even make this a day ahead. And once you do have it made, it'll hold in the refrigerator for a few days.
Am I drizzling?
You are drizzling it up.
Okay. Here we go.
Ooh, look at you. She's got the fancy princess zigzag. Oh, and now the cut across, man, I can't keep up with this. So we're gonna put this into the refrigerator, let all the flavors set together. We want it in there for about 2 hours, and then we are ready to slice it up and enjoy. Let's take a look at all the things we've made today. You ready, Haley?
Oh, I'm ready.
We have had a very busy day today, haven't we?
Absolutely.
But we've got a wonderful spread in front of us. Starting with our breakfast, we have our fruit salsa yogurt parfait. We have our cranberry orange butter. We have our lunch with our beef burrito and pepper jack cheese with
Black beans.
delicious. And we have our yummy eclair dessert. So Haley, now that you're Hastings famous, where could people find out more information about Princess K of the Milky Way?
Well, I do have a Facebook page and also an Instagram account, so you can go follow me or like the page at MN Princess K.
Nice. And don't forget, all of these delicious recipes came from the Midwest Dairy website. So Haley and Hastings, remember, the apron's optional,
But the flavor isn't.
oh, that was a double yolk egg. Oh, this is gonna be a delicious treat today, Hastings.
Wow.
Yeah.